My parents ruined my scholarship interview to shield my brother's ego, then called me ungrateful when I left. Years later, they demanded my success fund his business and tried to blackmail me into coming back. So I showed proof and left them in meltdown in front of everyone. The morning I was supposed to secure my future, my own family stole it from me. They thought they'd broken me, but what they actually did was forge my fiercest weapon, the truth. And I waited years to use it. That day, the air in our house was eerily silent. I jolted awake, my heart already pounding, my hands fumbling for my phone. It was 9:47 a.m. My Franklin Scholarship interview at Alabaster University was at 10 o'clock, a 40-minute drive away. Pure panic. Sarah, David, why didn't anyone wake me up? My mother, Sarah, appeared in the doorway, her face unnervingly calm. Oh, honey, I thought you said it was at noon. I stared at her. I told you 100 times it was at 10. I was already pulling on clothes, fingers tripping over buttons. Where are my car keys? She just turned away, heading downstairs. I tore through my room, a desperate, frantic search. Nothing. The clock on my nightstand mocked me, 9:53. I ran downstairs, finding my father, David, engrossed in the newspaper, my brother, Kevin, glued to his phone. David, I need to borrow your car. Please, my keys are missing, I'm going to miss the interview. He didn't even look up. Can't do it, sweetie. Your mother needs the car for grocery shopping. My voice was pleading now. Sarah can take your car. This is the Franklin Scholarship. It's a full ride to Alabaster. For years, everything paid for. Please. Kevin finally glanced up, a slow, ugly smirk spreading across his face. Guess you should have been more responsible with your keys, huh? A cold dread slithered down my spine. The way he said it, that flicker of satisfaction. I looked at Sarah, who was suddenly obsessively wiping already clean counters. David deliberately turned a page of his sports section. The words came out flat, hollow. You hid my keys. I couldn't let myself feel the rage boiling inside. All of you knew about this interview. My outfit was laid out for a week. I practiced my answers with Ms. Davis. This was the most important day of my life, and you sabotaged it. Don't be dramatic, Hannah, Sarah snapped, her calm gone. We didn't sabotage anything. You're always so disorganized. I laughed, a harsh, humorless sound. I color-code my binders. I've never been late to anything in my entire academic career. David finally lowered the newspaper. You know, not everyone needs to go to some fancy university. Your brother is doing just fine at community college. There it was. The real reason crystallized in front of me like frost spreading across glass. Kevin, 2 years older, had graduated with a 2.1 GPA, baking vague plans to do business or something. I'd maintained a 4.0, captained debate, volunteered, and taught myself conversational Mandarin for international relations. When the Franklin Scholarship letter arrived, I'd cried with excitement. I showed my parents, expecting pride. Sarah had offered a tight smile. That's nice, dear. Kevin had thrown his controller. Great. So now we'll hear about this for months. David had patted my shoulder. Just remember, college isn't everything. Your brother's finding his path, too. But I hadn't truly understood until that moment. They deliberately destroyed my chance because my success made Kevin look bad. I need those keys right now. My voice was steady, despite the fire in my veins. I told you I don't have them, Sarah insisted. I looked at Kevin. He held my gaze for a moment, then reached into his pocket and tossed my keys onto the table. They landed with a jangle that sounded like a door slamming shut. Found them, he grinned. They were right there the whole time. It was 10:02 a.m. I snatched the keys and ran. I made it to Alabaster University by 10:47, hair a mess, clothes wrinkled. The receptionist, genuinely sympathetic, said Professor Evans had waited until 10:30 but had another commitment. She gave me an email address, but we both knew. 5 students for 1 scholarship. 4 had shown up on time. I sat in my car, staring blankly, then called Ms. Davis, my guidance counselor. She'd encouraged me, written a recommendation, believed in me when I wanted more than our small Vermont town offered. They did this on purpose, I choked out. My own family sabotaged me. Ms. Davis was quiet for a moment. Can you stay there at home? Hannah, you're 18 in 3 months. Start making plans quietly. You're resourceful and you're brilliant. This isn't over. But it felt over. I drove home in a daze. Kevin was playing video games. Sarah and David were making lunch. How'd it go? Sarah asked, her tone already knowing. I missed it. Thanks to all of you. David warned, don't start this again. We didn't do anything. You're being paranoid. Kevin literally pulled my keys out of his pocket. He found them. You should be thanking him. The gaslighting was almost impressive. I went to my room and started searching for every scholarship, every grant, every opportunity. If they thought they'd stop me, they were wrong. They just taught me exactly who they were. For 3 months, I worked every angle. I applied to 17 scholarships, picked up extra shifts at the bookstore. I contacted Alabaster's admissions office, explaining the family emergency that caused me to miss the Franklin interview, careful not to sound unhinged. They were sympathetic, but clear. Without significant financial aid, Alabaster was $70,000 a year. Acceptance without money meant nothing. I pieced together smaller scholarships, $500 here, $1,000 there. I won an essay contest for $3,000. My AP scores earned me credits. I calculated that if I took maximum course loads, tested out of prerequisites, and worked 20 hours a week, I could maybe swing a state school. My parents noticed my increased work hours. You're never home anymore, Sarah complained. I'm saving for college. We told you can go to community college like Kevin. Live at home, save money. I want to go to a 4-year university. David frowned. That's selfish, Hannah. Do you know how much student loan debt people have? We're trying to protect you. Protect me? I laughed, a harsh, raw sound. You destroyed my scholarship opportunity. You hid my keys so I missed the most important interview of my life. We've been over this, Sarah said, her voice rising. Nobody hid anything. You're holding on to this narrative because you can't accept responsibility for your own mistakes. I didn't make a mistake. You did. And I'm going to succeed despite you. Kevin wandered in. Jesus, Jess, let it go already. Not everyone gets to be special. Something in his voice, the casual cruelty of it, made me understand. This wasn't just my parents. My brother enjoyed my pain. He liked that they'd knocked me down. For the first time, I genuinely hated someone. I'm done with all of you, I said quietly. I turned 18 in April. In May, 2 weeks after graduating valedictorian, I moved out. Ms. Davis helped me, her Honda packed with my clothes, books, and a few cherished items. My parents didn't help. They didn't even come out of the house. The night before, Sarah had cornered me. You're making a huge mistake. You're going to struggle and suffer. And for what? Pride? For my future. You're being ungrateful. We raised you, fed you, clothed you. This is how you repay us? You sabotaged my scholarship to protect Kevin's ego. You prioritized his feelings over my future. That's not love. That's control. She slapped me. The crack echoed in the small room. Don't you ever speak to me that way. We're your parents. We know what's best for you. I touched my cheek, feeling the sting, feeling something inside me finally break clean. No, you don't. You never did. The next morning, I loaded Ms. Davis's car and drove away from the only home I'd ever known. I didn't look back. The first year was brutal. 18 credits, 25 hours a week at the campus bookstore, barely any sleep. Ramen and rice, thrift stores, learning to cut my own hair. But I joined Model UN. I made friends who challenged me. Professors saw my potential. An internship with a refugee resettlement nonprofit led to a paid summer position. I was exhausted, stressed, sometimes scared, but I was mine. Every decision, every success, every failure belonged to me. My parents called occasionally. The calls followed a pattern. Sarah would ask about me with false sweetness, I'd give minimal answers. She'd pivot to Kevin, expecting interest. I'd stay silent. She'd get frustrated, saying, you've really hurt your brother with this attitude. The call would end. They never apologized. They never acknowledged what they'd done. Kevin, according to these calls, was still figuring things out. He dropped out of community college, working at a sporting goods store, but that wasn't his real plan. He was going to start a business, be an entrepreneur. He just needed capital. I graduated in 3 years with a 3.87 GPA, working multiple jobs. I got into a master's program in international relations with partial funding. I kept grinding, kept moving forward. By 25, I had my master's and a position with an international development consulting firm. I traveled, saved money, built a life I was proud of. I hadn't spoken to my parents in over 2 years. The last call ended with Sarah screaming I was selfish. I'd blocked their numbers. Then, on a Tuesday morning in November, an email arrived from my Aunt Lisa. Subject: family emergency. My stomach dropped. I expected news of a death. Instead, Hannah, your parents need your help urgently. Kevin's business is failing, and they've put their savings into it. They're facing foreclosure on the house. I know you've had your differences, but family is family. Please call your mother. I stared at the email, then did something I hadn't in years. I looked up Kevin on social media. His Instagram was a masterclass in delusion. Rented luxury cars, expensive restaurants, multi-level marketing products. His bio: CEO and founder building an empire, luxury lifestyle entrepreneur, DM me for business opportunities. His business page, Taylor Solutions, was vague consulting, motivational quotes over stock photos, and frequent posts asking for investors. I showed it to my roommate, Chloe, who worked in finance. She took one look. That's not a business. That's a fantasy. Whatever money went into this is gone. I didn't respond to Aunt Lisa. I didn't call Sarah. I went to work. I lived my life and tried to pretend I hadn't seen it. 3 days later, my doorbell rang at 8 a.m. on a Saturday. My parents stood there. I hadn't seen them in person in over 4 years. David had more gray hair. Sarah looked tired, older, but their expressions were the same, entitled, aggrieved, certain of their righteousness. We need to talk, Sarah said, pushing past me. You can't just show up here. How did you get my address? We're your parents, David said, as if that explained everything. Lisa gave it to us. Of course. I made a mental note to have words with my aunt. They surveyed my apartment, small but nice, decorated with art from my travels. You've done well for yourself, Sarah said, not a compliment. What do you want? Kevin's in trouble, David said bluntly. His business needs an infusion of capital or it's going under. We've already put in everything we have. The house is mortgaged to the limit. We need you to help him." The audacity stole my breath. "You want money?" "He's your brother," Sarah said. "Family helps family." "How much?" "50,000 would get him back on track," David said. "Give him room to breathe, to really build the business properly." I laughed. I couldn't help it. "You sabotaged my scholarship, kicked me out for being ungrateful, and now you want me to give Kevin $50,000 for his fake business?" "It's not fake," Sarah snapped. "He's building something real. He just needs support, which is something you've never understood. You've always been so focused on yourself, on your own success, that you can't see when your family needs you. My own success that you tried to destroy." "We never did that," David said. "You missed that interview on your own. We've told you 1,000 times." Kevin took my keys out of his own pocket right in front of me. "He found them. Why are you so determined to make us the villains in your story?" This was pointless. They would never admit what they'd done. They'd rewritten history so thoroughly they genuinely believed their version. "You need to leave," I said. "We're not going anywhere until you agree to help your brother," Sarah said, settling onto my couch. "We drove 4 hours to get here. I didn't invite you." "Hannah, please," David's tone shifted, trying for reasonable. "Look at everything you have. This apartment, your job, all these nice things. You can afford to help. Kevin is struggling. He's not like you. He doesn't have your advantages." "My advantages?" "I worked 3 jobs to put myself through college. I lived on ramen for years. I built this from nothing with zero help from either of you. We raised you," Sarah said. "We gave you everything until you decided to throw it back in our faces." The rewriting of history was so complete, so shameless, I felt dizzy. In their version, they were the victims. I was the ungrateful daughter. $50,000, I said slowly. "That's what you want?" "It would mean the world to Kevin," David said. "Give him the chance you had." "The chance I had?" "The chance you destroyed." "There you go again," Sarah said. "Always the victim. You got into a good school. You have a good job. You're fine. But Kevin needs help now, and you're too selfish to give it." I took a deep breath. "Get out of my apartment. If you're not gone in 60 seconds, I'm calling the police." David stood up, his face reddening. "You're really going to do this? You're going to turn your back on your own brother?" "I'm going to tell you one more time. Get out." They left, but Sarah turned in the doorway. "You'll regret this, Hannah. When Kevin loses everything because you wouldn't help, that's on you. And when you're alone someday needing family, remember this moment." I closed and locked the door, my hands shaking. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. 2 weeks later, I got an email from an unfamiliar account. Subject: information you should see. I almost deleted it, but something made me open it. Inside was a single line: "Thought you should know what your family is saying about you," and a link to a Facebook post. It was from Sarah's account, a long, rambling screed about her ungrateful daughter who abandoned the family, refusing to help her struggling brother despite making well over 6 figures. She claimed I'd always been difficult, cut them off for no reason after they'd sacrificed everything. Over 200 comments, mostly from people I didn't know, agreeing I sounded terrible. A few high school acquaintances even chimed in. Aunt Lisa had commented, "Family is supposed to support each other." Very disappointed in Hannah. There was more. Sarah had created a GoFundMe for Kevin's business, naming me specifically in the description, saying I'd refused to help despite having the means. She'd included details about my job, my salary, inflated significantly, painting me as a monster. the campaign had raised $3,000. I felt sick. They were trying to publicly shame me into compliance, weaponizing social media and family to force my hand. I showed Chloe. You need to respond to this. I don't want to air family drama online. They already did that for you. If you stay silent, their version becomes the truth. She was right, but I hesitated. Getting into a public fight felt like descending to their level. Then a text from an unknown number. It was Kevin. Sarah and David told me what you said. Real classy, sis. I'm trying to build something here, and you're sitting on your pile of money acting like you're better than everyone. Guess that fancy degree didn't teach you about loyalty. When this business takes off, don't come crawling back. Another text followed. Also, I'm telling everyone what you really like. Hope your job doesn't care about family values. The implicit threat was clear. He tried to damage my professional reputation. I called Chloe back. What if I don't just respond? What if I bring receipts? What kind of receipts? The kind that show exactly who they've always been. I'd kept everything. Every email, every text, every piece of documentation from my college years. Bank statements showing scholarships, jobs, loans paid back. Emails from Alabaster explaining I'd missed the Franklin interview and wouldn't be reconsidered. Photos of the acceptance letter and the impossible financial aid package. Most importantly, a recording. The summer after I'd moved out, before I blocked their numbers, Sarah had left a voicemail ranting about Kevin's birthday. In her anger, she'd said something I'd never forgotten, *, you've always been jealous that Kevin is more likable than you. That's why you're so obsessed with school and work, because it's the only place you can feel superior. We were trying to help you understand that there's more to life than achievement when you missed that interview. You needed to learn humility. * she'd almost said it. Almost admitted what they'd done. And I had it saved. I spent a week preparing. I wrote a timeline, gathered documentation for everything. Copies of texts, emails, redacted bank statements. Then, I posted it. Not on Facebook, their territory, but LinkedIn, where I had professional contacts. My post began, I normally don't discuss personal matters publicly, but I've become aware that family members are spreading false information about me, including details about my income and false claims that I've abandoned them. I'd like to set the record straight with documented facts. I detailed how my keys were deliberately hidden, causing me to miss the interview. The voicemail confirmation. Being called ungrateful. Putting myself through college with zero family support. The current public shaming for not funding Kevin's non-viable business. The inflated salary claims. I'm sharing this not for sympathy, but to document the truth. If you've seen posts painting me as a villain, please know there's another side, and I have receipts for all of it. I attached key documents, Alabaster acceptance, the missed interview email, scholarship applications, work income, loan payments, photos of my various jobs, and critically, the audio file of the voicemail. I tagged Sarah, David, and Kevin. Then I waited. The response was immediate. Within an hour, hundreds of reactions and comments. Former professors vouched for my character. Colleagues expressed shock and support. People who'd seen my parents' Facebook posts started questioning their narrative. Someone found Kevin's Instagram and highlighted the gap between his CEO persona and his bailout request. Aunt Lisa called, furious. How could you air family business like this? You've embarrassed your parents. They aired it first, I said calmly. They created a GoFundMe using my name and salary. They made this public. But this is, Hannah. You've made them look terrible. I made them look like what they are. Everything I posted is documented and true. She hung up. Sarah called from an unblocked number, screaming incoherently about betrayal and lawsuits. I let her scream, then said, I have copies of everything, and I'll share more if I need to. Take down your Facebook post and the GoFundMe, or I'll post the full voicemail where you admit to sabotaging my scholarship. The line went dead. Within 24 hours, both were deleted. But I knew this wasn't over. My parents weren't the type to accept humiliation quietly. A week later, my boss, Brenda, called. Hannah, I need to talk to you about something sensitive. We received an email claiming you've lied on your resume and fabricated credentials. My stomach dropped. From who? The sender didn't identify clearly, but claimed to be a family member with evidence. It's my parents, I said. Or Kevin. They're trying to damage my career because I won't give them money. Brenda was quiet. I saw your LinkedIn post. I'm sorry you're dealing with this. Everything on my resume is accurate. I can provide verification. I believe you, but Hannah, you need to protect yourself legally. This is harassment. She was right. I consulted an attorney specializing in family law and defamation. She reviewed everything. You have grounds for a cease and desist at minimum. Potentially a restraining order if this continues. The attempt to sabotage your employment is particularly serious. I sent the cease and desist letters via certified mail to Sarah, David, and Kevin. Further harassment, defamation, or attempts to damage my reputation would result in legal action. 3 months passed in silence. I started to think maybe, finally, it was over. Then a wedding invitation arrived. My cousin Olivia, Aunt Lisa's daughter, was getting married. We'd been close as kids. I almost declined, knowing my parents would be there. But Olivia called. Jess, please come. I know things with your parents are complicated, but I'm inviting you because you're important to me, not because of them. You can bring a +1, just please. Her voice was so genuine, so hopeful, I agreed. I brought Ethan, a colleague I'd been casually seeing, who agreed to be my buffer. We arrived at the country club on a sunny Saturday in May. The ceremony was beautiful, Olivia looked radiant. I even cried during the vows. The reception, though, was where things got complicated. My parents were there, playing the role of proud family members. Kevin was with them, wearing a rented suit. They saw me. Sarah's face hardened. David looked away. Kevin stared, his expression unreadable. I focused on Olivia, on celebrating her day. Ethan and I found our table, chatting with cousins, dancing, enjoying the food. Then came the family photo session. The photographer gathered groups. Okay, now all of Olivia's extended family, aunts, uncles, cousins. I joined, standing on the far end. My parents were on the other side. For a moment, we'd all be in the same photo, pretending to be a normal family. Sarah couldn't handle it. As the photographer set up the shot, she walked over to me. You need to leave. You're not really part of this family anymore. People heard. The chatter died. Olivia looked horrified. Sarah! Aunt Lisa hissed. Mom, Olivia said, I invited Hannah. She's my cousin. She's a liar and a betrayer. Sarah's voice rose. She's poisoned you all against us with her fake stories and manipulated evidence. Karen, this isn't the time. Aunt Lisa pleaded. It's exactly the time. She comes here flaunting herself after everything she's done to Kevin, to our family. Sarah turned to the relatives. Do you all know she refused to help her own brother when he was desperate? That she has plenty of money but won't spare a dime for family? Mom, stop, I said quietly. Don't you mom me. You lost the right to call me that when you publicly humiliated us. David joined her. You turned our family into a spectacle. Made us look like monsters with your carefully edited story. Kevin stepped forward. You always thought you were better than us, smarter, more successful. You couldn't stand that I was doing something for myself. People were staring. The photographer lowered his camera. Olivia looked like she wanted to disappear. Her new husband, Noah, looked ready to intervene. I felt Ethan's hand on my arm, steadying me. This was my moment. I could walk away, take the high road, let them have their scene, or I could end this once and for all. I took out my phone. You want to do this here? I said. At Olivia's wedding? You want to make a scene? You made the scene by showing up. Sarah spat. Fine. I pulled up the files. Then let's show everyone the truth. No editing, no manipulation. Just facts. I turned to the family. Can I use the projector? The one showing the photo slideshow? Olivia nodded, wide-eyed. I connected my phone. The screen behind the head table, which had been displaying photos of Olivia and Noah, now showed my Alabaster acceptance letter. This is from 2013, I said, my voice carrying across the silent room. I was accepted to Alabaster University. I advanced to the next slide. This email confirms I was a finalist for the Franklin Scholarship, a full ride covering tuition, room, board, everything. Next slide. This email is from Alabaster's scholarship office, sent the day after my interview was scheduled. It confirms I was marked as a no-show and eliminated from consideration. Next slide. These are text messages from the morning of the interview. Timestamp 9:53 a.m. My interview was at 10 a.m., 40 minutes away. I'm asking where my car keys are. Nobody can find them. I looked at Sarah. Her face was pale. David's jaw was clenched. Now, here's the interesting part. I played the voicemail. Sarah's voice filled the room, tiny through the speakers, but clear. *, you've always been jealous that Kevin is more likable than you. That's why you're so obsessed with school and work, because it's the only place you can feel superior. We were trying to help you understand that there's more to life than achievement when you missed that interview. You needed to learn humility. *, the silence was deafening. She almost said it, I continued. Almost admitted they caused me to miss the interview. But let me remove all doubt. I pulled up another file. This is a recording from a conversation I had with Kevin 4 years ago. He called me drunk, and I recorded it because by then I'd learned to document everything. I hit play. Kevin's slurred voice came through, *, you know the funniest thing? Sarah and David thought hiding your keys was going to teach you a lesson. Like you'd give up on the whole college thing, but you just got more obsessed with it. Proved you're crazy, I guess. He laughed, a mean, drunk laugh. They did it for me, you know. David said you were making me look bad, so they fixed it. And you still won't let it go. I stopped the recording. Every eye was on my parents. They sabotaged my scholarship, I said simply. They admitted it multiple times. When I moved out to put myself through college anyway, they called me ungrateful. When I built a successful career despite them, they created a smear campaign on social media claiming I'd abandoned them. They started a GoFundMe using my name and falsified salary information. And when that didn't work, they tried to get me fired by sending anonymous messages to my employer claiming I'd fabricated my credentials. I pulled up the cease and desist letters. These are legal documents I had to send 3 months ago to make them stop harassing me. I looked around the room. Some looked shocked. Others looked guilty. Aunt Lisa had tears streaming down her face. I didn't want to do this here, I said. I came to celebrate Olivia. But since you forced the issue, everyone should know the truth. Not the edited version on Facebook, not the victim narrative. The documented, provable truth. I disconnected my phone. the slideshow of Olivia and Noah's photos resumed, jarringly cheerful. Sarah was crying now, angry tears. "You've ruined everything," she wailed. "You've destroyed this family." "No," I said. "You did that 12 years ago when you decided protecting Kevin's ego was more important than my future. I just made sure everyone knew what kind of people you actually are." David stepped toward me, fists clenched. Ethan moved between us immediately, and Noah was there too. "I think you need to leave," Noah told my parents. "This is my wedding, and you're the ones causing a scene." "We were invited," David said. "And now you're being uninvited. Go." For a moment, I thought David might try to push through, but Aunt Lisa touched his arm. "David, Sarah, let's go. Please." Kevin hadn't moved. He was staring at me with something between hatred and what might have been respect. "You really did it," he said quietly. "You actually won." "This wasn't about winning," I replied. "It was about the truth." "Sure it was." He followed them out. The room stayed silent for a long moment. Then Olivia crossed to me and hugged me fiercely. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I had no idea it was that bad." "It's not your fault." Aunt Lisa approached, her makeup smudged. "I believed them, Hannah. When your mother told us about the scholarship, about how you just missed it and were blaming everyone else. I believed her. I thought you were holding a grudge over nothing. I called you ungrateful. You didn't know. I should have asked. I should have talked to you directly. Instead, I just accepted their version of events." She touched my face gently. "I'm so sorry, honey." Other relatives approached throughout the reception. Some apologized, others asked questions. I answered honestly. I let the truth speak for itself. By the end of the night, the family WhatsApp groups, as Lisa later showed me, were on fire. People were angry at my parents, at themselves for believing the lies. Kevin's Instagram was being screenshotted as evidence. My parents' version of events had completely collapsed. Ethan drove me home. I was exhausted, emotionally drained, but also lighter somehow. "That was the most intense wedding I've ever been to," he said. "Sorry I dragged you into family drama." "Are you kidding? That was incredible. You had everything documented, every receipt, every piece of proof. You were like a lawyer making a closing argument. I just wanted it to be over." "Is it over?" I thought about that. "Yeah, I think it finally is." I was right. My parents made one last attempt to control the narrative, posting on Facebook about being ambushed. But this time, family members pushed back. Aunt Lisa posted Kevin's recording. Other relatives shared their own experiences of my parents' manipulation. Apparently, I wasn't their only victim. Their posts were deleted. Their social media went quiet. Kevin's Instagram disappeared. I reconnected properly with Olivia, talking for hours. She'd always felt something was off about their story. "They're very convincing," she said. "They genuinely believe their own version of events." "I know," I replied. "That's what makes them so dangerous." 6 months later, a handwritten, 8-page letter arrived from Sarah. I almost threw it away. It was a masterpiece of non-apology. She acknowledged mistakes were made, that perhaps we handled things poorly, claiming they'd been trying to protect Kevin and didn't realize how it would affect me. She said they'd always loved me and never meant to hurt me. But she never said, "I'm sorry." She never took responsibility. At the end, she asked if we could move forward as a family and put the past behind us. No acknowledgement of sabotaging my scholarship, gaslighting, publicly smearing me, trying to get me fired, just vague references to misunderstandings. I wrote back one sentence: I accept your acknowledgement of wrongdoing, but I'm not interested in rebuilding a relationship. I wish you well. I never heard from them again. I'm 30 now. I've been promoted twice. I travel internationally for work. I have friends, colleagues, a partner I'm serious about. I'm building the life I always wanted. Sometimes I think about that morning 12 years ago, standing in my childhood home, watching Kevin pull my keys from his pocket with that smug smile. I think about how devastated I felt, how lost and betrayed. If I could go back and tell 18-year-old me anything, it would be this: they did you a favor. They showed you exactly who they were, and you believed them. You built something better than anything they could have given you, because you built it yourself. I don't hate them anymore. I don't feel much of anything toward them, which is perhaps more final than hatred. They thought they were protecting Kevin by keeping me small. Instead, they freed me from ever needing them again. That's not the revenge I planned. It's better, because the best revenge isn't destruction. It's building a life so fulfilling, so authentically yours that the people who tried to limit you become irrelevant. They're still out there, living their lives, probably still telling themselves a version of events where they were right. Kevin is probably still dreaming of being a CEO, posting motivational quotes, blaming everyone else for his failures. And I'm here, living proof that their sabotage didn't work, that their gaslighting didn't break me, that their attempts to control and diminish me only made me stronger. I keep the Alabaster University acceptance letter framed in my office, not as a reminder of what I lost, but as a reminder of what I built from the ashes of that loss. Sometimes, the best revenge is simply undeniably succeeding. What would you have done if your own family tried to ruin your future?